Listen, you don't have to have thousands of dollars to start making baits at home. In fact, in today's video, I'm going to show you how you can get started for as little as 250 bucks. I've been on YouTube now for about 5 years almost, been making baits longer than that, and scarcely a week goes by where I don't get a DM on Instagram, a comment on a video, or an email asking me, how do I get started? What should I buy? How much does it cost? So I thought, you know what? It's high time that I make a video dedicated to that very topic. So today I've got 3 different starter options at 3 different price points, all of them under $1,000. In each of these options, I'm going to give you examples of the base equipment that you're going to need, and then 3 molds that, in my opinion, kind of cover the main bait categories: worm, a creature / craw, and a swim bait or a moving bait of some sort. So we'll get to that $250 option in just a second. But option 1, what I wanted to start out with, is what I'm calling low cost injection. I start here because I think this is kind of the most popular. I think this is where most people, in their mind's eye, when they imagine making baits at home, this is the picture that's going on in their head. They want to be able to do a couple of things. They want to be able to inject. They want to be able to make multiple baits in one mold. They want to be able to have the flexibility to make a solid color bait, but they also want the ability to make a multicolored bait or a laminate. I really believe this is where most people begin, so that's where we're going to begin today with option 1. We'll get to the $250 option next, but the target budget for this one is $500 or less. So first on the list is a microwave, but not just any microwave, a dedicated microwave. Don't you be taking cups of raw plastisol in your Pyrex cups, sneaking upstairs to go cook it in your family microwave. That would be a very, very bad thing. And because we're on a budget, right, less than $500, I went to Walmart.com and found the cheapest one available. Now this one is a 700 watt, which is a little bit smaller. I use a 900 watt, so 1 cup of plastisol, what I use, I can get it almost fully cooked at 2 minutes 25 seconds, 2 minutes 30 seconds, something like that. 700 watt microwave is going to take you a little bit longer, so make sure that you keep that in mind. So with a microwave in hand, we now need something to go in said microwave, and that's going to be your Pyrex cups. Since we're on a budget, remember, I'm going to recommend that you get 2 2-cup Pyrexes. If you want to only make a cup, you can still always only make 1 cup. Those are running $3.79 a piece, so we're going to get 2 of those. Go ahead and add about $8 to our growing tally. Next up, the old butter knives. That's right, we need something to stir our plastic with. Butter knives are definitely the cheapest option out there. I won't say that they're the best option, but they are a good budget option. Found one here on Walmart.com for $1.68. Gets you a set of 3. Should be more than enough. So this stuff is going to get pretty toasty. You're doing multiple reheats in your microwave. The glass is going to get hot. Obviously the plastic is hot. You're gonna need some gloves. Now I use some hyper tough gloves from Walmart. They've got some meshing on the outside to help them breathe and help me move around, but it's not meshing like the plastic can seep down through and burn my hands. They're really good for me. So how are we doing so far? Looks like we've got about, just under 70 bucks thus far, which is a good start, but we're not done yet. We need some more equipment. The first of which is a laser thermometer, also known as an infrared thermometer. It's going to be what you use to measure the temperature of the plastic, so long as you are stirring it at the same time that you buzz it. That's really important. If you're not stirring it, when you shine the laser down in it, you're only getting that surface temperature, which is always, always, always going to be cooler than the plastic that's in the middle. So stir it up, and as you're stirring it, shine that laser right down into the core of it. That's going to give you a much more accurate reading. Something else from Amazon while you're getting a laser thermometer, you're going to need some measuring spoons. So the one here on Amazon looks like it goes from like 1 tablespoon down to a teaspoon, then a half, quarter, and an eighth, and will run us about $6. So we've got our base equipment taken care of now, almost. More on that in a little bit. Let's turn our attention now to Plastisol. Now I am admittedly a BaitPlastics guy, so if somebody's asking me my opinion, what they should use, I love BaitPlastics, so I'm going to steer people that direction. They're not a sponsor, I don't get anything from that. I have just used it for as long as I have made soft baits. I have tried some other brands out there, and I like BaitPlastics the best. You're gonna need, I would say, at least a gallon of BaitPlastics to get started. I would personally recommend the same stuff that I use day in and day out. BaitPlastics 242 Low Odor Ultra Clear Plastisol. It is a wonderful middle of the road blend. If you wanted to go harder, you can always add hardener to it. If you want to go softer, you can always add softener to it, instead of having to buy all of these different blends to make all of these different baits. Each to their own. Everybody's going to have their own deal, but a gallon of BaitPlastics 242 is going to be about $46. Anything over, says here, $39.95 is free shipping. So that's a nice bonus. You don't have to pay any shipping on that gallon. Now, we need some of the fun stuff, like colorants, pigments, and flakes. So I turn your attention to the Lurecraft website, where they have a Maker's Dozen colorant sampler. This is super cool. It's sized down bottles. So the bottles that I usually use on the channel are 2 ounce. These are all 1 ounce sizes, but you get 12 of these guys for $30. Included in here is 1 ounce of watermelon 101, Carolina pumpkin, which is like a brown, black, white, scarlet red, chartreuse, green pumpkin 109, classic, blaze orange, hot pink, phthalo blue, yellow, and June bug. It is a fantastic kind of starter pack collection to get you going, and at $30 for all 12 of those, yeah. And while we're at the Lurecraft website, click right over to the glitter section, and they have the same kind of idea for a sampler for glitter as well. 2 different sizes. I only chose one. I went with the 0.04, which is like a medium size. This is a great place if you just want to get a smattering of different colors. And at $20, what does it say here? You get 22 colors. 22 different color flakes for $20. That's like less than $1 per little sampler pack. Then you can find out what you like, what you don't like, and if you want to buy the full 2 ounce bottles or however they sell it. The molds I'm going to recommend here do require a clamp. They're not going to have nuts on them or anything like that that's going to hold them closed. So we got to go to Lowe's and get some clamps. Now I fully realize that you don't have to go to Lowe's and get your clamps, but I like these if somebody, once again, just like the Plastisol thing, if somebody's going to ask me what kind of clamps I would recommend, these are the ones that I would recommend. They are Jorgensen brand. They're all metal. They hold up to heat really, really well. The size I would recommend to get started with are some 4-inch, and I think you just need 2 of them. That will do all that you need it to do to get you through the 3 molds that we're going to talk about next. I jumped the gun. We're not ready to talk about molds just yet. Sorry. The next thing we need is injectors. Hello. Reaching back to why we're starting with option 1, why I think most people in their head, they think this is what it looks like to do baits at home, be able to inject single color and dual color. Well, dual injectors are not cheap across the bass tackle world or the N2 world. There are budget-friendly duals available. You sacrifice some things because of that, but they do work. I started out with a Do-It dual injector myself, used it for quite a while, moved up to N2 in time. So a dual injector from N2, 4 ounce is going to cost you $175. So that is less than half, but darn close to half of our $500 budget in just the dual. But it gives you the freedom to do singles because you can take the dual apart and use them individually, or it gives you the ability to do obviously dual laminates. Okay, now let's talk about the molds. Yes, we're going to go with Do It once again. Some disclaimers here. Anything that's the shiny aluminum, precision cut, CNC milled, that's always going to be more expensive. It's a higher quality no matter who makes it. Do It does offer their Essential series, and it's essentially, no pun intended, the same kind of aluminum as like their jig molds. I have a ton of these. These are the jig molds, right? And this is cast aluminum. But inside, right, it's not shiny stuff. It's kind of grainy. The trade-off, though, is that you do not get shiny baits out of those. But if you're not looking to, well, one, if you don't care, if you're just making these for yourself and you don't mind that it's not a real shiny bait, it's kind of have a grainy matte finish, then these are absolutely fantastic options because they are darn cheap. The first of which is the 5-inch Senko, or I should say Senko style, right? So this is the Do It Essentials Senko mold, 5-inch stick bait. It does come in 4-inch, 5-inch, and 6-inch, all 4 cavities. It is the cast aluminum, so you can see it has that kind of that grainy look to it. So that's my recommendation for the worm. For the swim bait, right, some sort of moving bait, I would recommend the 3-inch or the 3.5-inch Ripper. Now online, that is a beautiful bait, and it will not come out of that mold that way. It's gonna have, again, it's gonna have a rough, matte finish to it. This is another great option, just like the stick bait mold, 43 bucks for a multi-cavity. It depends on the 3-inch. 3-inch is a 5 cavity, I believe, and the 3.5-inch is a 3 cavity. And last but not least, we need a creature craw style mold. And going back to the Essential series, another $43. They've got one called the Essentials Craw mold at 3.5 inches. I think 3.5 is a perfect little in-between. Unfortunately on this one, probably because of the extra milling and the extra time to get the details down, I don't even know, but 43 bucks on this one's only going to get you a single cavity. You still can laminate it, it'll still laminate, but you're only going to be able to shoot one of these at a time. So that's going to do it for option number 1. All in, let's get our grand total here, $499.95. How about that? Just under 500 bucks. Get you 3 molds, dual injector, and everything you need, plus a gallon of Plastisol, pigments, and flake, and you are well on your way to making baits in your own shop. But I understand that not everybody has 500 bucks sitting around to try out this new hobby. So let's take a look at option 2, which is going to be less than 250 bucks. So this option is going to be largely the same. There are some key differences though. The first of which is the microwave. Now, we started out with the cheapest available brand new microwave from Walmart, 700 watt, $49, 50 bucks, something like that, to get you going on the other package. But I had to pinch some pennies here. To get to the 250 range, we're gonna need to go to Goodwill. We're gonna need to be on the lookout at Yardsale. If we can find one for $35, that would free up enough other budget that would allow us to get this package. So if you got an extra 15 bucks and you want to go just a little bit higher than 250, like 265, you can still go to Walmart, get that $49 deal. Maybe you find a deal somewhere else. But assuming a used microwave for 35 bucks, we also still need the same 2-cup Pyrex cups. Those were about 8 bucks. We still need the measuring spoons. We still need the butter knives. We still need gloves to keep our hands safe. Those were just under 11, I believe. We still need the laser thermometer, the infrared thermometer, because we need to know how hot our plastic is. The gallon of Plastisol, just under 46. Still gonna recommend that you get a full gallon so that you have plenty of time, really get a feel for it. And then the same two things from Lureworks as well. The liquid pigment package, that sampler pack, I don't know that there's a better option out there for that for like 30 bucks. And then the same size medium flake for 20 bucks, less than $1 a pack on that. All of that is gonna be the same as option 1. The biggest difference here is that we are not injecting. Now I know that could be kind of a turn off for some guys, but remember, this is a $250 budget. The dual injector alone was $175. Yes, you could do a single injector. You're only doing one color, right? That is an option. It's not one that I'm going to show you here. We're actually going to open pour some silicone molds, which are very budget friendly. Open pouring, even with silicone, will give you the option for a true laminate, top and bottom, different colors. However, all that said, if we're gonna do laminates in an open pour, you need a heat gun because you have to get the top of that first layer nice and soft so that when you pour in the second layer, the two can bond together. So let's go to Amazon and find ourselves an inexpensive heat gun. And lo and behold, we have found one for a whopping $17. A dual protection, fuses 1800 watt, heavy duty, blah, 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 blah. This is gonna be more than enough that you need. It goes way up above 1,000 degrees, and that will be sufficient to heat up the plastic after you pour that first layer, and then you can pour the second layer and have a true laminate bait. So with that in mind, now let's talk about silicone mold options. So there's a bunch of them out there. This one was made by a friend, Noah. I have a bunch of these craws. I think when he was selling these, they were like 15 bucks a piece for a very detailed craw. But there are other options out there as well. I want to direct you to one. It's called Moose Ridge molds. You can only find them, to my knowledge, on Facebook. This is how they sell all this stuff. So they have pictures of all the molds and prices on those posts. So you need to go over to the left-hand side and find where it says see all photos and click into that. Once you do that, you can kind of scroll down through all the different options that they have. They generally have pictures of the baits that have been poured out of that mold as well. So when I did that for the purposes of this video, I chose 3. I chose the one that looked the most like a 5-inch stick bait. The only difference here is that it's going to have a flat side because it's an open pour. But 4-cavity mold for just 20 bucks. I then scrolled down a little bit further and found a funky looking creature craw type thing. Another one that was 20 bucks. This is a nice little 2-cavity for that. That's pretty sweet at 3.25 inches. And then they also have a fluke style mold, fantail at the bottom, 3-cavity. I didn't see any true swim baits, but this would be in that kind of general category, a moving bait as opposed to a worm or a creature crawl. So with all those totaled up together, I'm just under 249 bucks. So we're coming around the home stretch here. We've got our cheapest option that we just went through. We also went through what I would consider probably the most popular option, the low-cost injection. Now I want to go the opposite direction. High quality stuff, higher on the safety measure too. We'll talk about why that is in just a second. But still, even this, under 1,000 bucks. First difference we're going to see is the microwave. I use a 900 watt microwave. I think most guys probably do as well. So I went ahead and upgraded from the 700 watt smaller microwave to a 900 watt microwave, still from Walmart, and it is going to run us $70 as opposed to $50. Still need our 2 Pyrex, quote unquote Pyrex anchor hocking cups. Now we're not going to get butter knives. If you've watched any of my videos, you know I don't use butter knives to stir anything. The reason for that is the curved and serrated edge of the butter knife doesn't clean the edge of the cup as well. I'll use what's called a cheese spreader. Curved on one side, a little bit flat side on the other, but it doesn't leave those streaks behind, and it's really served me quite well over the years. So that's what I use. You can get a set of them for $6.80 from Walmart. Still gonna need the gloves. I'm going with the same gloves that I got from Walmart before. No need to upgrade those. Still need the laser thermometer. Again, no need to upgrade that one. $15 will definitely do us. Measuring spoons, again, good to go on that one. Same gallon of BaitPLastics 242 low odor, ultra clear Plastisol. But while you're there, don't go off too quick. I want to add something to that BaitPLastics cart because, hey, we got $1,000 here. Let's splurge a little bit. So I'm going to encourage you to go over to their pigments section, click on the premium pigments, and scroll down and click on monkey milk. Oh yeah, you gotta have some monkey milk in your life. If you plan on making swim baits, even some creature stuff and worms, monkey milk, man, it is a must. 4 ounces, gonna be like $10, I believe. Well worth the money. Beyond that, we're going back to Lureworks to pick up that 12-pack sampler. But much like our monkey milk, don't go away from Lureworks too quick. Go over into the pigment section, scroll down until you found, yes, motor oil. This changeable, so tasty. I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about. Definitely throw a 4 ounce, or is it 2 ounce bottle of motor oil. Definitely throw that in the cart as well. $5, you'll thank me later. On top of that, of course, we need our flake sampler for $20, and that wraps us up at Lureworks. Now we're back in the injection game now. We don't have to open pour only for a $1,000 budget, so we're gonna need to go back to Lowe's and grab some more of those 4-inch clamps, just like we had in option 1. So be sure you grab 2 of those. Should run you, again, about $10. So far through those clamps, we are at $240. And since we're doing injection, we need a dual injector, but not the Do It one this time. We are gonna up the ante and go to N2. A couple huge differences though between an N2 setup or even a bass tackle setup and the Do It dual that I showed you earlier, the biggest of which is safety. What I mean by that is there's no locking pins on the end of the nozzles on the Do It dual. I don't know why they don't change that design, but it just is basically pushed in there with an O-ring, which means if you're not careful and as you're injecting and you push too hard or you push too long, you can actually push that nozzle out the end of the tube, and piping hot 330 or whatever degree Plastisol goes everywhere. It is not cool, Jack. An N2 dual or a bass tackle dual or any of these higher end, higher quality setups are all gonna have locking pins at the end of the nozzle. So I'm often asked the question, what size dual should I get? Should I start out with a big one, a smaller one, blah, blah, blah. For the purposes of this video, I chose the 6 ounce for $305 from N2. Is it an absolute must? No, I'll be the first to say I used Do It dual for a long time. You kind of learn how far you can push without pushing too far. But I'll also tell you that I screwed up a number of times even though I knew. Definitely safety is a huge factor. Fit, finish, quality, just the feel of the equipment. I mean, there really is no comparison. Now let's talk about molds in this $1,000 option. And shock of all shocks, I am going to recommend Epic Bait Molds. I love those guys. I don't think there's anybody on the market that even comes close to competing with them between fit, finish, high quality stuff, customer service unlike anybody else out there. I digress. I'm going to tell you what 3 molds I would shoot you to, or send you to rather, on the Epic Bait molds. Again, worm, craw, and something on the swim bait range. So for the worm, classic stick bait, 5-inch stick bait from Epic, 4 cavity. It's going to run you $135. Comes out beautiful and shiny, no dents, no problems, no nothing. I've got the 8 cavity, I believe, that I use, and it is absolute perfection. On the swim bait side, I love the 3-inch chunk paddle tail. It's just this perfect little nugget of joy swimming along in the water. It shoots beautifully. It's got body roll. It's just an awesome little swim bait. 3 inches, everything under the sun eats it. It's definitely where I would send you. And then lastly, of course, we need a craw, and how could I not recommend the 3 cavity Gloria craw? It's a gorgeous craw. It was my 10,000 subscriber celebration event with them. I've got 2 of the 3 cavities and 1 of the 6 cavities, but you can pick up the 3 cavity for $170. So all in for our $1,000 or less package, where I would, if somebody had the money and knew that they wanted to get into it and wanted to start out with really good, high quality stuff to maximize their enjoyment right out of the chute, this is the package that I would recommend to them. And we are at $997.46. So if you're with me still, congratulations. Thanks for hanging out with me in the video this long. I have a bonus recommendation for you. For those that maybe were paying attention, maybe wondering if there was something missing in all 3 of these options, I will mention it now, and that is a vac chamber. Having a vac chamber to remove bubbles, remove moisture, is a major, major plus. Is it an absolute necessity? No. You could put the Plastisol in the microwave, heat it up so that it's really nice and hot, like 360, 370, even 380. If you're using BaitPLastics, it can handle it. And once it's up to there, just leave it in the microwave, and those bubbles will naturally rise and start busting on the top. It does take time. The Plastisol cools down. It's not nearly as efficient. I would recommend everybody that wants to do this in a serious way, get a vac chamber, and you can find one on Amazon. Same one that I use for about $140. It's a 3-gallon. They do make a larger one and a smaller one, but I feel like that 3-gallon is the perfect middle range. I can get multiple cups in there at once. It really does everything that I need it to, and the package comes with everything that you need, including the pump. So that's it, guys. I do hope you found this helpful today, especially if you are considering the hobby. In my opinion, it is certainly worth the time and the money. Do appreciate you watching, and until the next time, I'll see you guys in the shop.